Once upon a time, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, there lived a family that everyone admired. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson were the perfect couple, kind, hardworking, and always there for their children. They had built a comfortable life for themselves and their two children, Sarah and Liam. The house was always filled with laughter and the smell of home-cooked meals, and their children, well-behaved and excelling in school, were the pride of the neighborhood. Their home was a place of security, where no one ever expected anything out of the ordinary to happen. To the outside world, they were the ideal family, the kind of family that everyone else would aspire to be like. But there's always more than meets the eye, and no family is truly perfect. What was happening behind the closed doors of the Anderson household would change everything. It all started innocently enough, with Sarah, the 13-year-old daughter, coming home from school one afternoon with an excited look on her face. She had made a new friend, a boy named Jason, who had shown her something strange. At first, it didn't seem like anything alarming. It was just a new app on Jason's phone, a game she could play with him. They played it together, laughed at it, and everything seemed perfectly fine. But little did Sarah know, this was the beginning of a series of events that would lead to a situation far beyond her years. Jason, with a curious spark in his eye, had shown Sarah how to access something else on the phone. It wasn't just a game anymore. It was videos that they probably should not have been watching. Sarah, like many young people, was curious. She didn't know what she was seeing, but she felt something new, something she couldn't explain. It felt exciting, different, and it made her heart race. She didn't understand why she felt that way, but she couldn't stop. Jason was laughing along with her, but there was something in Sarah's mind telling her this wasn't quite right. Still, she didn't know how to stop watching. She didn't fully understand the implications of what she was seeing, but it felt so captivating. The innocence that once defined her childhood began to slowly slip away. That evening, Sarah couldn't wait to tell her younger brother, Liam, about the new app Jason had shown her. Liam, who was only 10 years old, looked up to his older sister more than anything in the world. He followed her everywhere, trying to be just like her. Sarah pulled him into her room and showed him the videos. At first, Liam didn't understand either, but he laughed nervously as he watched. They both shared an awkward, confused laugh at first, but with every passing moment, the curiosity deepened. Before they knew it, it became their little secret. They told themselves that it was no big deal, just something fun to do when their parents weren't home. But it wasn't long before the fun turned into something more. As the days went by, Sarah and Liam's bond became stronger, and their secret grew deeper. They began to watch these videos more and more often, spending hours in Sarah's room, clicking through one video after another. They giggled and whispered to each other as they explored a world neither of them was fully prepared for. The videos were strange, full of images and scenes that neither of them understood. They watched, confused but fascinated, and gradually, it became something they couldn't stop. It was no longer just a game, it was an obsession. They started making excuses to be alone in Sarah's room after school, hiding behind locked doors, lost in their shared secret. Each time they watched, the strange feelings grew stronger, but neither of them knew how to deal with it. It wasn't supposed to be this way, but they didn't know how to stop. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, had no idea what was happening. They were busy with work, focused on providing for the family and making sure everything at home ran smoothly. They assumed their children were safe and occupied with schoolwork, homework, and chores. They never suspected that something was going on behind their backs, in the quiet corners of their home. The trust they had in their children, the trust that every parent gives to their kids, was slowly eroding, but no one knew it yet. No one suspected the dangers lurking just out of sight. Sarah, now feeling the weight of their shared secret, began to grow anxious. The guilt started to creep in. She wanted to tell someone, anyone, about what was happening, but she didn't know who to turn to. How could she explain what she was going through? How could she tell her parents what she and Liam had been doing in secret for so long? It felt like it was too late now. The guilt kept her silent, and the more they kept the secret, the more their bond deepened. It wasn't just curiosity anymore, it was something more dangerous. But neither of them knew how to escape it. They felt trapped in their own world of secrets, unsure how to break free. The reality of what they were doing didn't fully hit them until one night, when Liam came to Sarah, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. He had seen something in one of the videos that had sparked something new. He wanted to try what they had seen, to take it a step further. Sarah froze. The thoughts racing through her mind made her heart pound in her chest. This wasn't just a game anymore, and deep down, she knew it. But Liam was insistent. He assured her that it would be okay, that no one would know. He reassured her that they were just two kids exploring something new, something that felt good, even though neither of them understood it. Sarah's heart ached with confusion, but she trusted her brother. He was her closest friend, her partner in everything. She had always followed him, and now, she couldn't turn back. At first, it didn't feel like anything too serious. It felt like a game, something silly that they would both laugh about later. But as time went on, the lines between right and wrong started to blur. They couldn't stop. The guilt, the shame, it all started to feel like something they couldn't escape, but they continued anyway. They found excuses to be alone together more and more, sneaking around their parents, who remained blissfully unaware of what was happening in their home. What should have been a safe space, filled with love and trust, had turned into a place of secrecy and confusion. And it was all happening right under their parents' noses. As the months passed, Sarah and Liam's secret grew darker. They didn't talk about it, but it was always there, lurking in the background, controlling their every move. They stopped talking about it out loud, but they both knew what was happening. The videos became less of a curiosity and more of an obsession. The once innocent bond between them had been replaced with something more complicated, something they couldn't explain. It wasn't just a secret anymore, it was a lie they had created together, a lie that was eating away at them both. Sarah began to feel trapped in this web they had woven, but she didn't know how to break free. Liam didn't want to stop either. He convinced her that everything would be fine, that no one would find out, and that it was just something they did together. But the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard we try to hide it. One day, as Sarah lay on her bed, staring up at the ceiling, she felt a sudden wave of nausea. Her heart raced, and she knew something wasn't right. She had been feeling off for a while now, but this was different. As the days went on, her symptoms worsened. She couldn't deny it anymore. She was scared. She tried to ignore it, but the reality of what was happening hit her hard. She was pregnant. The secret they had kept hidden for so long had led to this moment, and there was no turning back. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to Liam, "I think I'm pregnant." Her voice shook with fear and guilt. Liam froze, his mind racing. He had no idea what to do. They had never expected this to happen. They had tried to be careful, to avoid the risks, but it was too late now. What would they do? Who could they turn to? What would their parents say? They couldn't face the truth. Together, they scrambled to find a solution, a way to fix this. They gathered the little money they had saved and went to a local clinic, lying to the nurse about needing abortion pills for a school project. The nurse hesitated but handed them over. When they got home, Sarah took the pills, her body trembling with fear. The guilt, the fear, it all weighed heavily on her. But it didn't stop there. This cycle continued. They lied, they hid, and they kept their secret buried deep inside. But every lie, every secret, took its toll. Sarah's body started to break down. She didn't fully understand the damage she was doing to herself, but every time she took those pills, she was putting her future at risk. She was risking her life, and she didn't even know it. But still, they couldn't stop. The fear of being caught, the guilt, it was all consuming. And it was all happening in the quiet of their home, a place where parents believe their children are safe. This story, as painful as it is to tell, is happening in homes all around the world. Children are exposed to things they don't fully understand, they keep secrets from their parents, and they feel trapped in a world of confusion and guilt. Parents, you may think that your children are safe, but they are vulnerable. The truth is, every parent needs to see this. Your children are growing up in a world where the internet, social media, and technology are changing everything. They are exposed to things far beyond their years, and it's happening right under your roof. As parents, in every home, behind closed doors, there are stories that are rarely told. These are stories that, if known, could change the way we look at family dynamics. Every parent believes they know their children, that they understand their needs, their struggles, their desires, and their fears. But the truth is, many parents are only seeing a fraction of what's happening beneath the surface. There's a silent war going on, one that is not fought with words, but with silence, neglect, and sometimes, lies. In many homes, the foundation of trust begins to crack, and the truth, however painful, always finds its way to the surface. And when it does, it's often too late to repair the damage that has been done. Amara's family appeared perfect from the outside. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, loving parents, dedicated to providing for their children, had given their all to create a beautiful home. They worked tirelessly to ensure that Amara, their only child, had everything she could ever want. But while they were focused on providing material things, they failed to see the emotional distance growing between them and their daughter. Amara, a bright and intelligent teenager, was hiding something that was eating away at her from the inside. She felt neglected, not because her parents didn't love her, but because they didn't truly see her. They were so wrapped up in their daily routines, in making sure she had the best clothes, the latest gadgets, and a future set in stone, that they missed the one thing she needed most: attention, understanding, and an open line of communication. As time went on, Amara began to pull away. She wasn't the same joyful girl who once ran to her parents for everything. She didn't feel safe sharing her thoughts, her insecurities, her problems. Instead, she kept everything to herself, pretending that everything was okay. But it wasn't. Amara found herself struggling in silence. She began sneaking out of the house to find solace in places that only provided temporary relief. It wasn't long before she found herself in situations she couldn't control, seeking validation from people who didn't truly care about her well-being. Amara didn't know how to tell her parents about the storm brewing inside her. She didn't know how to explain that, despite having everything, she felt completely alone. She was craving attention, love, and affection that her parents didn't seem to notice she was lacking. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor were completely oblivious to what was happening with their daughter. They thought she was just going through a phase, that she would grow out of it. They didn't see the signs, didn't know the quiet desperation that lay behind her eyes. They didn't know about the late nights she spent crying in her room, wishing that someone would just ask her how she was doing. Instead of noticing her pain, they chalked it up to the pressures of being a teenager. They were too busy with their jobs, with the stress of their own lives, to realize that their daughter was slowly slipping away from them. Then, one day, it all came crashing down. Amara couldn't keep up the FARD any longer. The lies, the secrets, the things she had hidden from her parents for so long came spilling out in a single moment of sheer vulnerability. It was a moment that neither she nor her parents were prepared for. Her parents had always believed they had a perfect family, but in one conversation, that illusion was shattered. Amara, with tears streaming down her face, finally admitted to her parents what had been going on. She told them about the lies she had told, about the pain she had been hiding, and about the relationship she had gotten herself tangled up in. She spoke of her need to feel seen, heard, and understood. She confessed the things she had done in an attempt to fill the emptiness inside her. It was a confession that left her parents stunned, speechless, and filled with guilt. They never saw it coming. They had been so focused on providing for her, so focused on being good parents in the traditional sense, that they had forgotten to truly know their daughter. The room was filled with an uncomfortable silence as her parents tried to process what she had just told them. Mrs. Okafor was the first to speak, her voice trembling as she asked, "Why didn't you come to us, Amara? Why didn't you tell us you were struggling?" Amara, still crying, could barely find the words to explain. "I didn't think you'd understand," she whispered. "I didn't think you'd care." Mr. Okafor, his face filled with disbelief, shook his head. "How could we not care? We've always loved you, always done our best for you." But love, as they would soon realize, wasn't enough. Love without communication, without attention to the emotional needs of a child, was not enough. In that moment, they realized that they had failed their daughter in the most fundamental way. They hadn't just failed to see her pain, they had failed to create a space where she felt safe enough to share it. Amara's confession shattered the perfect image they had built of their family. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor were devastated. They had always believed that by providing everything Amara could ever need, they were being good parents. But the truth was that they had neglected the one thing that mattered most: her emotional well-being. In their attempt to create a perfect life for her, they had failed to build a relationship based on trust and understanding. They had failed to create an environment where their daughter felt safe to be vulnerable, to share her deepest fears, and to ask for help when she needed it the most. As the days passed, the strain on the Okafor family grew. Amara's once loving parents, now filled with guilt, tried to make up for their shortcomings, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Amara felt abandoned, betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect her. Her parents, on the other hand, felt helpless, unsure of how to fix the broken bond between them and their daughter. The love that had once filled their home now felt distant and hollow, like an echo of something they could never get back. But what's the lesson in all of this? What can parents take away from the Okafor family story? It's simple: no matter how hard you try to protect your children, if you don't truly see them, if you don't listen to them, then all the material things in the world won't be enough. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life, to think that providing for your family means giving them everything they want. But the truth is, your children need more than that. They need your time, your attention, and your understanding. They need to know that they can come to you with their problems, without fear of judgment or rejection. They need to feel that they are loved not just for the things they do, but for who they are. Parents, it's important to remember that you don't just raise children, you raise human beings who have feelings, emotions, and struggles. They aren't just extensions of you, they are individuals with their own unique experiences and challenges. And when those challenges arise, it's your job to be there for them, to be their safe space, their sounding board, and their source of support. Don't let your children slip away in silence. Don't let them hide their pain behind a mask. Pay attention to the signs, the little things that might seem insignificant. Ask questions, even when you're scared of the answers. The truth is, no one knows your children like you do. But sometimes, you have to look deeper than the surface. You have to see the things they're hiding, the things they're too afraid to say. Because if you don't, someone else will. And when the truth finally comes to light, it's often too late to fix the damage. Amara's story is a painful reminder of the importance of truly being there for your children. It's a reminder that no matter how busy life gets, your children should always come first. And it's a reminder that the most valuable thing you can give your child is not a new toy, not the latest gadget, but your love, your attention, and your understanding. So, to all the parents out there, take a moment to truly see your children, to hear their voices, and to be the support they need. Because once that foundation cracks, it's not easy to rebuild. And the damage it leaves behind can last a lifetime. This is a story that happens in every home, a truth that every parent needs to see. Don't let it happen in yours.